Hello, Dr. Stephen Gilligan here back with you. Now I want to talk with you about week 2 of Trance Camp 2025. Week 2 is sort of an intermediate advanced course that's building on all the basic skills and understandings of week 1 to really focus on how can that be used to be able to support the development of a really, really, really generative life that goes far beyond soap operas, being a drama queen, being caught up in your problems, but really feeling that you have come into this world to bring us a special gift to it, that each of us has that. So the hero's journey is really about the structure of creatively following that path. Actually, the hero's journey, which was developed by the American mythologist Joseph Campbell, was on my reading list for my introductory psych course that I took at University of California at Santa Cruz all the way back in 1972. And it was a little bit daunting to read it then, but I have gone through it so many times since then. Campbell, as a mythologist, studied all the different stories of different cultures in the world and found there was one monomyth, one common story, which is sort of a Star Wars type of story, which incidentally, that Star Wars is based on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. He was a consultant for it. But there was this great, great journey of somebody often coming from not so noble paths, going on this journey to heal something deep within themselves first, to bring a wholeness to a brokenness that was encountered deep within, and to go on this challenging, difficult, arduous, creative, amazing life journey, to be able to do the healing of that brokenness that was found internally. Then, once the individual healing, the individual wholeness had been achieved, big part of the hero's journey is how to share that, how to pass it on, how to be able to bring that into the world for the benefit of others. This is what we might call living a life that has meaning. And I think that it's lacking today, and we're so sort of caught in our own individual egos and our sense of disconnectedness and our sense of alienation, that we're being very, very destructive in the process. So the hero's journey starts with the sense that there's something underneath all your thinking, all your emotion, all your ego, that really has a calling to awaken into the world. We need some way to be able to hear that call, to be able to attune to it, to deal with all of the obstacles, the demons that attack us and say, no, you don't you dare live a big life, don't you dare live your dream. We need a process to be able to do that. That's where generative trance really comes in. So in many ways, the generative trance work and the hero's journey share the identical structure. What is that structure? Well, there are these two very different modes in generative trance. There's this right brain, nonverbal nature consciousness that is unbroken and is the mind of all of life. It's the mind of the planet. It's the mind of the community. It's in each of our embodied consciousnesses in a unique way, but at the same time, it's a shared presence to which we all belong. That's the unconscious. Fairly recently, if you're talking history, 4 billion year history of the planet, we humans have begun to open this second mind that can operate in disconnection from the base. The second mind, which is what we call the conscious mind, is a verbal, virtual, simulation, kind of like an iPhone simulation of what reality is. When it is used in harmony with the unconscious, with the unbroken wholeness of all of life, good things happen. But we have the capacity to dissociate and stay dissociated. And that's been happening probably for at least 500 years, and we're at the end stage of all of that. And so we're in the shadow forms of this isolation, of this disconnection, of this sense of a self that's not part of the world as a whole. That's what the hero's journey is about too. So the hero's journey is about sensing that the realization of the wholeness of life is really probably the most rewarding, the most interesting, the most worthwhile thing that any of us can do, each in our own way. So what we're going to be exploring is how you can be able to live your hero's journey and be able equally to help others to be able to do it in terms of the work that you do. There's a structure to it. The structure that we will study, the first structure is not formally part of Campbell's structure, is you got to get out of your head. We're so caught up in the rat race. We're so caught up in the talking, worrying, blaming. We got to take a step back to what Campbell calls sacred space, a place where you're not judging, a place where you're not comparing, a place where you're not forcing anything. Could be singing in the shower, could be walking in the garden, could be playing with your granddaughter. We need to find that experience first. And that allows us to begin to hear what's calling me. What is life asking of me? What is life asking of you? And we can then see how in the hero's journey, there's always a rejection of that. When you hear your calling, there's a sense of no, either from you or from others around you. So there's a struggle you go through until you find the commitment, the return to the call. Then you got to do a lot of work in terms of finding models, building communities, developing skills, going through all of the rituals and the ardor and the ordeals of everyday life to grow, to change, to realize your consciousness is always bigger than any problem, than any suffering, than any obstacle, and that you're free to live a life that has value and creative contribution. So that's what we will be exploring. We'll be doing, focusing on the different steps, and we'll be going back and forth between what do you do, how do you think about it, how can you accomplish this, but then always Generative Trance and the hero's journey sort of require of you that you realize there is a power greater than your ego. You have to be able to ask a lot of these questions in surrender. You have to take the questions, drop them into a place that is a great, 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 great ocean. You learn how to swim safely and enjoyably in that ocean in Generative Trance. You learn how to navigate and surf that ocean to find a really creative, positive contribution and way of being in the world. So that's what we will be exploring. It's great to do it in a community. I don't know if it can be done really without community, especially these days. That's what Trance Camp offers. It's an amazing group of people that comes together from all over the world, does really deep intellectual work, emotional work, collective work, ritual work, transformative work, celebratory work. We cry, we laugh, we hug, we get serious with one another. We focus on how can we live our lives at the highest, deepest level. So I hope that you will join us for week 2 of the Hero's Journey. Bye for now.